jogger case. After more than 6 years behind bars, Dr. Salaam was exonerated and released from his prison in 1996. Several movies have been made about the boy's experiences. Salaam is now a poet and inspirational speaker and received the Lifetime Achievement Award from President Barack Obama.
So Kamaal, I mean, whether you read the book or not, you can tell it's a little bit of a spin-off of the Central Park Five. So question for you guys. So who read the book? As well as who remembers Central Park Five vaguely, if not now the Exonerated Five? Because that was what, 1989, I believe, when that happened. That made me about 19 on my way to, I sat out a year when I graduated from high school, so I was on my way to college at Virginia State University. And this book, the way that it flowed, and I gave Kamaal a choice of like what books he wanted to choose to read for this month as a special guest co-host, and he chose this one.
It's quite ironic choosing this one.
Why is it quite ironic that you chose this one?
I mean, some of it felt relatable in the sense of like school really just telling you what to do, even when you might not find it interesting. It's not really about if you find it interesting or not, that's what you got to do. So
that's how you felt Amal felt?
Yeah, and when you mentioned how, what do you say? Like with school, with art, the art class, the AP one, where it wasn't really interesting, but he still had to pay attention, even though he didn't really need to, because he still got into the program.
So when I gave you the choices of the books to choose, did you choose this one based on the title, or did you look into?
I think it was like, because when it mentioned one of the Exonerated Five, that's when I was like, okay, this is probably gonna be.
And was that based on what you learned at home, or did you know something about Exonerated Five?
I mean, watching
or the Netflix? Go ahead.
Yeah, watching the documentary gives you a good perspective, because documentaries obviously it's going to tell you the information, but it gives you like, when it's portrayed in like a film, it makes you get only like, you get the visual representation too, other than verbal in like a book.
Okay. So we're going to discuss a time, because this book had a lot of assumptions in it from the beginning. So this, pose this question to everyone. Discuss a time when assumptions were made about who you are, and how did this make you feel? Were these assumptions accurate, or were they just based on harmful stereotypes? Because a lot of assumptions went into who Amal was or is. So can you think of a time that where assumptions were made about you, and how did this make you feel? Even in relation to the book as well.
For me, I can recall, I'm from the Caribbean, I'm from Jamaica. When I first came to this country, a lot of kids automatically assume, go back home on your banana boat. They assume I've been on a boat. They assume I've been on a banana boat. They assume that's the only means of transportation from Jamaica to here. And obviously they got that from their parents, because I was in the second grade. And obviously it still stick with me. And in my mind, it's like, what the hell? I've never been on a boat before in my life. So it's like, what the hell, a banana boat? What the hell is a banana boat?
Mm-hmm.
I've been on a plane. And so to me, that made me upset, because you don't know me. You're telling me things about myself that I don't even know what you're talking about. So it was very upsetting. And that went on for quite a while. Stereotype of Jamaicans coming here and the kids in school. It was very upsetting to hear that, and constantly all through my elementary school. So it was very upsetting. It wasn't me, and they just automatically assumed they knew me and they knew about me, and they continually expressed that.
Thank you for sharing. I see several Black women faces on here. So what were some assumptions about you guys that people assumed that was a stereotype? That was it accurate, or was they way off?
I mean, I like Alicia. I came from a different country. Well, I was born here, but I went to Panama when I was very young, and I didn't come back till I was 18. So I learned Spanish when I was there. And it's funny, when I came here and like went to college and stuff, a lot of people just assume because I was Black, dark skin or whatever, I didn't speak the language, I didn't speak Spanish, and they like tested me a lot. Like, nah, you don't speak Spanish. You don't speak Spanish. And, it's like I had to keep proving to them that, yes, I do speak Spanish, and it was just strange for them. I guess I don't know what it was for them. And even in talking, like I had a high school Zoom meeting like months ago, and they were like, oh, even my high school friends who grew up with me, because we didn't really speak Spanish to each other because we went to an American school. They didn't even know I spoke Spanish, and they was like, but you grew up with me. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you see all different faces, all different colors, all different shades in Panama. We're all speaking the language, you know what I'm saying? So it was funny to me, but yeah.
So when you say high school, you went to high school in Panama.
Yeah, I did.
And you in Panama with them, and they didn't know that you even spoke Spanish.
This is what I'm saying. Because we didn't interact with each other in Spanish because it was an American school. I don't know if they just didn't take that. They were like, oh, because I said something in Spanish because everybody was speaking Spanish. So I said something in Spanish. They was like, oh, you speak Spanish? What? What? Yeah. Like, yeah, it was.
So that's crazy. A stereotype of your complexion, thinking that you don't speak Spanish.
Absolutely.
So Kamaal, have you ever experienced any stereotype as a young Black man growing up?
I mean, of
course.
I mean, I feel like I can say, of course. I mean, live in America, you're gonna get stereotyped really regardless of who you are. But I've gotten stereotyped. Yeah, I mean, I've shared the one with you where it was like, anytime I'm talking somewhere or around adults, it's the shocked about being respectful or something, or the reaction to being respectful or having manners. It's like you're assuming I wasn't coming into this, that I'm not gonna have those things based off just appearance. So I mean, that's one.
Yeah, we've gotten he's very articulate and he's very mannerable, or things of that nature, or even intelligent as far as his ability to have discussions back and forth. So stereotyped along those lines, because he's just at that time, well, he's still a young Black man, but now he's a young adult. But then even at 5, 6, 7 years old, and I would be like, well, what were you expecting from the young Black boy? Like, go ahead.
But as Yolette said, it's not just other people, your own people do it as well. Even if it's intentional. Like in school, there would be like times where like hearing you act white based on being educated in class. People say you act white. That's like you're basically filling in the category of you're not supposed to be intelligent just because you're Black, which is really what they want you to say, and you're just saying it to other people as well. So there's that happened as well.
So Deron, as a Black man, young Black man growing up in the city, have you experienced any stereotypes?
One that really comes to mind is being I grew up in pretty much in a Catholic background, meaning Catholic schools and stuff. And when I came out of school, and I didn't hang out with the guys on the street or sell drugs or whatever, I was seen as the privileged black kid in the neighborhood, which I was far from the truth. I got to Catholic school because I won scholarships, and my mother worked 2-3 jobs just to pay the tuition for me to get there. But most of the time, most of my so-called friends would say, oh, he's privileged, or or he's rich. He has the money for it because he's going to Catholic school, and that was far from the truth. That was again, and then when they find out that I did get there on the scholarship, oh, you're a nerd. You're acting white. Well, you know, so that's what I grew up with as a young teenager.
So did you played ball? So did you experience any stereotype that came along with that as a jock, as a ball player?
I experienced that as well. I wasn't expected to be on the honor roll. Wasn't expected to be high honors or be third in my class in high school because I was an athlete student, not a student athlete. So it was assumed that I was taking just enough courses to the classes just enough to pass high school. And even in the college, I wasn't supposed to take calculus and that. I was supposed to take remedial math and remedial reading and remedial business, just so because I was an athlete student, not a student athlete. I was there mostly for my jump shot and not for the fact that I was actually pretty smart.
Anyone else? I'm gonna jump in.
My experience mirrors what Kamaal is talking about. Most people assume because you're Black that you're not educated. And when you open up your mouth and you get comments from white people as well as people of all races and ethnicities that say, wow, you're so articulate, or the opposite of you talk like you're white. You're to go as far as to say you're an Oreo just because you speak in complete sentences, right? Nothing more than that. Just and it's something even, I face into my professional career, even to this day, where I get comments that, they call them microaggressions. You get all these comments that the speaker thinks is innocent. It's just an innocent, or that they're complimenting you, but it's extremely offensive.
Not normalized.
Yeah, I even had that working at Metro North, selling tickets at a window, and at that time I'm already articulate and can speak fluent Spanish, but I dabbled a little bit in French and whatnot. And a coworker had said to me that I was a credit to my race because I was different than the other Black folk in the ticket office because I was able to speak English, Spanish, and a little bit of French. And I looked at the person. This is way before my children were born, and I said some colorful things before I decided to change my life a bit. That how dare you? Like, I was just so blown away that I had to close my window and they just put me to the side because I was so offended that because I spoke articulately at the window and I spoke fluent Spanish and found my way around a bit French and whatnot, that he was white male privilege, and now he's a woman. I don't know what it is going on, and he was confused anyway. But I was just like, my mom had to come over. They had to call me, and that really had to put me to the side and calm me down, because I'm like, what were you expecting? He told me I was a credit to my race, as if I wasn't like the other ones who, loud Black women, boisterous or what have you. And I was just like highly taken back and like, what kind of Black people have you been around?
Yeah, well, why is it that being educated is synonymous with being white, or be bilingual or multilingual synonymous with being white?
Well, I feel like it's kind of an automatic thing because that's what it was. It wasn't automatic before. Like before Black people, of course, during times of like slavery, that wasn't something that was automatic at the time. So it's like unintentionally, even learning about it in school, it's like it's always been that way. It wasn't automatic before. So now when it's automatic, you're reminded of the fact that it's automatic now. Because because all right, education and reading wasn't accessible.
Yes.
Like it wasn't something you could just do on your own. And then they allowed Black people to be able to do it when they weren't slaves anymore. So now that you're able to do it, it's going to be pointed out because you weren't before. So it's like kind of like that.
So
that's
they,
what I feel like.
So they were
happens all the
surprised
time.
that we were able to grasp the king's language
Well,
because it was deprived from us when we were enslaved.
and it was still deprived. Like education is still something that is enforced by like white people. It was given, and then it's still enforced after it was given by the same people.
So when you're saying they were privileged enough to automatically get it, while we had to strive for it and sneak and read and do those.
And then once it was accessible to us as well, they just show all the other things that we're
capable
supposed
of
to be doing. So you forget about what you can do.
Okay.
Like after they gave us the ability, were still like controlling your option.
Limitation.
Go ahead. Somebody was
You know
gonna
what I'm saying? Limitation. They have limitations in every area. So even though they allow us with limits, and therefore their children, based on their story from their parents, probably, you know, the scenario that they play, that African American or just Black in general are uneducated people, and that's what is instilled in their household. So when they come among someone who's able to speak or have any sense or common sense or act civilized or act normal or act some common sense or act in any form, they can't believe it and they can't accept it. And you have to be a miracle. You have to be a unicorn. You have to be different. It just can't be the norm for us, because they put so much limitation and barriers for us throughout, and up till now they still do.
So before we move on for assumptions, I wanted to go back, Alicia, to you saying that you're Jamaican. So is that an assumption that you got 5 jobs or 10 jobs, or the American is lazy and the Jamaican got more jobs, or the Caribbean?
Something. What I've actually
I know
got
some lazy Jamaicans, so I'm just saying.
No, besides for the if I have more than one job, I get a little joke here and there. But one of the things I've always been told, like, you're so different. You're not like that. And I used to puzzle me when I heard that, because I didn't understand. So there's so many stereotypes. They, you know, it's so funny. They constantly separate us and keep us at each other's throat. They constantly now to stir the pot and keep us at each other, so we can never build a community, because the more we stay together as a unit, we can conquer more. And, you know, they make these little insert and put in your head and constantly divide. So yeah, a lot of stereotypes. My mother got it. My mother had multiple jobs. My sister had it. She got multiple jobs, but you know, you laugh at it after a while.
No, I laugh because when something my father used to say, God bless, that when society look at you, they don't look at you to cipher out whether you're Jamaican, Panamanian, Honduran. The first thing they see is whether you're not, you're Black. They don't wait till you open your mouth to see if you're gonna sound Haitian or from the South or from Cuba. They see you and they see the automatic assumption is Black, so-called lazy, so-called this, and so-called that. And I believe Amal dealt with a lot of assumptions and things of that nature. I know I had something that for Kamaal to read, but I wanted to jump ahead to when the teacher, who got to the part when the teacher went on the stand and was talking about him.
Oh, the very beginning.
And the character witness. How did y'all feel about when she was up there?
Yeah, I don't know who
The art teacher.
yeah, when I don't know who prepped her or told her what a character witness was supposed to be, but that didn't help his case at all. But yeah.
Yolanda?
And it's her perception.
Yeah. Yolanda, how do you feel about what the teacher was saying when she got on the stand as a character witness?
I thought she could have did like the young lady was saying too. I'm like, I don't know who she was talking to before that. And, you know, you supposed to be helping him and letting them see that he's a decent person. And you kind of like threw him under the bus, like you wanted to see him under the jail, like right now, you know, and that was kind of crazy to me. because I thought that he was actually, you know, from how he was describing it, that was like his best class. You know, that was where he was like actually, you know, showing and proving who he was as a person in his art. So you would think that that would be one of the people to actually have his back.
That's
Yeah.
Go ahead, Aisha.
No, I was just gonna say, you know, it just shows you that even when white people want to be well-intentioned, they still have their own biases and stereotypes, you know, that they hold on to, you know. So he couldn't just be creative in his art. He had to be funneling his anger, you know, through his art, right? Like, why? So yeah, sorry. I see Kamaal like.
Kamaal said, yeah, you know you and him. Yeah. Go ahead, Kamaal.
No, that's I actually went back to it because I was about to say that.
Read it.
Because when he was trying to say that
it's called anger management at the top of it too.
Yeah. He was asking, does he ever display emotions that were like angry, violent? She just automatically, even before he finished, said, yeah, he was just channeling his anger into art. I mean, that's also her assumption as well, because he never mentioned telling her he was angry about anything. So I felt like that was like a microaggression in itself. Like he never said what you're just kind of assuming he's angry.
This lady sounds like the teacher from Everybody Hates Chris.
That's Ashanti in the background. She said it sounds like the teacher from Everybody Hates Chris.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, but it is that sometimes that, well, most of the times, okay, I'm gonna say all the time, whenever us as blacks act out of pocket, they always think that there's some type of emotional thing behind it. Oh, he's angry, or he's sad about something, or something happened at home. That's why he's acting out. When it could be just the fact that person is just really creative. They always it seems like we can never be talented or creative. It's like whatever we do has to be related to some type of emotion. Where it could be just the fact that we can see something and we can just be creative about it. Like I knew a kid who could just look at something and draw it from sight. And when people saw that he could do that, oh, he must be special, or he learned that because at home he can't have a chance to see things or watch cartoons. He didn't have a TV, so therefore he had to make up his own type of cartoons and draw stuff like that. But the fact of the matter is that the kid was just really talented. So they always seem to attribute our talents to some type of emotion,
some type of trauma.
Yes, go ahead, come on.
Yeah, basically, like they don't give you a chance to like really be a human being. Kind of, there always has to be like a reason, because like how he was mentioning, or like I seen somewhere else where I think it was the Colin Kaepernick documentary or something in school. It might have been. It's like a study when like a kid misbehaves in kindergarten or something, it has to be like acting out, or it has to be they're misbehaving. Let's say it's a black kid, it's like you need to discipline them. Oh, it has to be a reason. There must be something going on at home, like he said. But if a white student were to act out, it's like they're being a kid, or they're just misbehaving. So it's like different standards intentionally. Because like I said, it just draws back to there was limitations before, and then they still make you feel like there are limitations. So it's just displayed everywhere else.
I mean,
Speak up, Shanti.
For the longest time, we weren't considered human beings in the first place. So to feel like we're not seen as humans isn't far off from the 3/5 compromise in itself, which I always personally had a problem with. How are you 3/5 of a person? That makes no sense to me.
Again, it's just you're.
Well, if you dehumanize someone, it makes them feel better when they are cruel and injustice to you, because they dehumanized you and made you feel lesser than and projected you as. So when they depict you as that, when they do you wrong, it becomes easier on their, I guess, psyche and conscience, if they even have one, to be able to treat you as such.
I also would like to say that it appears that people of color is not allowed to have emotions.
Yeah.
That's
We're not allowed to have feelings or express anything. And we can be there in the room, but be seen but not heard, and sometimes not be seen. And when you express any type of emotion, you're being seen as possibly a human, and they can't tolerate that and accept that. And that's where they put boundaries. You know, in every scenario we hear all the time, if a white child do something, they have empathy with that child. If a black child do something, is some type of trauma and some type of situation occurring. And in essence, what they're doing is traumatizing that black child, if anything. They're the one that's creating the trauma for that child for a future. So we're not allowed to have emotion and express those things, and not allowed to be angry. And, you know, those are natural emotion, and everyone express them. We can't be angry. We can't raise our voice. We can't do anything but walk a straight line, but basically be seen, not heard, and sometimes not be seen.
wow.
And
Thank you.
sometimes,
Mhm.
and sometimes to build on that point that she's made, that when we do show emotions, we're a threat.
Mhm.
Mm. Good one. Good one. Good one.
I
All
think
right.
that's what makes it difficult for you know, even us as adults to even seek out therapy, you know, because of that stigma that we have in the community, because we see, oh, okay, so you need therapy. That means you have issues that nobody, you know, you can't handle. You know, you can't go out there in society with these issues because you basically crazy. So yeah, you needed a therapist and stuff. So that's a problem in our community.
Definitely. Definitely. So Kamal's gonna move on to, oh, Yolanda, go ahead. I'm sorry.
That was a really good point that she had put out, because she was like, my brother, he's literally told his wife that he doesn't want to go to a therapist, because if he says something that, you know, like, you know, if he expresses himself the way you're supposed to do in therapy, you know, whether it's mentally, whether it's emotionally or whatever, and he says the wrong thing, he don't want them to put him in a crazy house. But these are the thoughts that he might be struggling with, that he just needs to get off his chest. And you're supposed to be, you know, trained to help me get through this, but I'm afraid to even go to you because of what you're going to see me as after I say those things out of my mouth. And, you know, he's a big black man, to be honest, like he's huge. So it's like, if he has any type of anger, it's automatically somebody's calling the cops, or somebody's gonna, like, you know, think he's a threat, or, you know, they will not just say, hold up, and there's no baton, there's straight up gunfire kind of thing, because he's that big, you know. And I'm just like, that's just sad.
We need more black therapists, male and
Yes,
female.
that's what he. Go ahead. That's something that both of my children want to go into. One's more of the therapy, psychology, and Kamal wants to go into therapy, psychiatry.
Yeah,
So he's
we
my
need more.
Jiminy Cricket when I wants to calm me down. Him and Duran, because I'm still a little off at times. But go ahead.
You want to read the
Mhm.
mix it?
Mix it around.
So this is basically like a kind of a pre-background, a little further background to the novel. Punch in the Air uses first-person verse narration to tell the story of Amal Shahid, a 16-year-old artist and poet who has been accused of a violent crime. The book addresses the experiences, injustices, and emotions a young Black boy faces when swept into the criminal justice system. The story follows Amal through his court trial and ultimate sentence in a juvenile detention facility, demonstrating how he maintains his humility and creative voice throughout a series of experiences designed to extinguish both.
So Amal admits to throwing the first punch in the fight. Can it still be considered self-defense if he threw the first punch? What do you think happened on that fateful night? I mean, I want to let you think about that, but I want to reiterate, when Kamal read that, he's 16 years old. I have a problem with society seeing Kamal at 16 years old and thinking he a grown man versus little Tommy, Bobby, and they see him at 16 years old. Oh, he was just playing with his friends and he likes to ride his bike and go skateboarding. Why is my son or our sons considered grown men at 16 when it seems like other races and people get to be boys? I mean, I don't know if anybody wants to comment on that, but when he read that, that's what resonated with me. Like, why do they get to be 16 teenagers? We seen this in Society. Rittenhouse, the one just now who just went through court and killed the people and everything. He got to come off and cry on there. His mama helped him with a gun. He was 17. They made him sound like he was a choir boy. But I know damn sure that if it was my son, they would have written him up a whole different way as a grown man, as a killer.
Because we're not innocent in their eyes. Innocent only belongs to children. And from we come out the womb, we are considered adults. We are considered grown folk because they just don't look at us in that way. We're not innocent. Innocent being of a mind of a child, innocent being, just making mistake and having opportunity and changes and just going, evolving. They don't see us as that. They don't even see us as human, much less to consider us a baby. So they skip the human phase and anything else. I mean, even with women, they over-sexualize us at a young age. When we do something, a dance and shake our ass, it's bad. If a white girl do it, oh, it's so adorable. So, so the bottom line that we are never a child, never a baby, never a child. The only time we might appear to be a baby is when we are actually cuddly and dressed up pretty and they're the one behind the camera taking the pictures. And after that, all innocence is out the window. Once we're in kindergarten, I guess, start walking and talking.
Yeah.
So that's
I think it's that they assume that white kids are raised by family and black kids are just raised by the streets, and that's how they see us. We're wild from young. We don't have that structure, and white kids have that structure. I think that's the difference.
So when they're in trouble, it's like shocking that you get in trouble because you had all this stuff. So there has to be a moral reason for why you're in trouble. It just can't be
absolutely
you wanted to do it.
Absolutely.
But it's so sad, even when we have the upbringing, the proper dynamic, even when our family has the money to get us out of jail or put the bail, they still can't acknowledge that. They still refuse to see, even when we're raising their system, their school, their upscale school and everything, they still can't give us that pass, the acknowledgement that we can make mistakes or things happen, life happens.
Well, I think the reason why that happens is because, and to be probably really blunt about it, us being Black and intelligent and doing what they are able to do is a threat to their comfortability. It's a threat. They don't want to see us as Black people as equal, pretty much, So when we can come at them with the same type of information, with the same type of intelligence that they already privileged to have, we're a threat to them. So therefore, what do you do with a threat? You try and take it out in any way possible. So therefore, that's why we had to work twice as hard just to be on their same level, because we're seen as a threat to their level of dominance.
Yeah, I think.
Hold on, Aisha. Yolanda had her hand raised for a minute.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
It's okay. No, I was just piggybacking off of piggybacking off of what she was saying about education, even Brother Duran, when he was talking about them being a threat. I remember going to a private school in Lower Manhattan. My mom was like, why don't you just try it out? Because apparently they wanted to make sure I didn't have any learning disabilities and things like that. And I was in 6th grade and I got there. And when I tell you, I think that year I got into so much trouble because I was so bored. I was so bored. And all these kids in there, you know, white privileged kids, like this little boy, I remember him like, you know, like it was yesterday, his name was Yvonne. He would bring home, like he would bring to school all this money and, you know, he would like put red ink all over it and act like he ain't need it and do all kinds of crazy stuff with it. And I'm like, oh, Jesus. But I'm up here getting in trouble because, you know, by the time, you know, they give you like this spreadsheet of how fast can you finish this page of math, or how fast can you finish these word problems and things like that. And I'll be done in like 15 minutes when everybody else is still taking a 30, 40. And I'm like, all right, well, what am I supposed to do next? So I always ended up in school detention. And they like, well, I don't know what's wrong with her. You know, they would tell my mother they ain't know what was wrong with me, why I'm always in trouble and this, that, and the third. And it's like, because I'm bored. You got me in this school that's supposed to be for children who have problems with learning. And I don't have that problem. I was smarter than some of the teachers, to be honest. Some of them look a little slow. So, I mean, 1 year that school just showed me like, I definitely, and especially in academics, that I can't play games and dumb myself down for anybody, you know, because then I'll end up in a situation to where I'm not even progressing and I'll just end up in trouble.
Okay. Aisha?
Yeah, I wanted to comment, kind of like to bridge Alicia and Duran's comments that, you know, they don't see us as human and that we're a threat. What's really between that is they see us as animals, you know, which is worse than just saying, oh, you're not a human being, but you're in fact an animal. And he talks about apes, right? Like they see us as apes. That's where the threat comes in. That's the dehumanization of it that justifies them treating us the way that they do, especially incarcerated people, that I can chain you, you know, I can pull you by a yoke, you know, and that's what has been, I think, most harmful, especially to Black men historically.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point of like the animal part. I feel like it's treating like animal, but because, all right, with an animal, it's a threat, but it's also something you can control or have power over. I feel like that's what I make it an animal kind of situation, because so when they first, like with slavery and all that, it was, we're physically better or physically and educated better in areas of like building or even like planting and growing crops. So it was more of a threat at that point. So now you have to make a threat seem like it's foreign, so you make it something else. Like you foreign, you don't understand it. So if in not understanding it, you're gonna relate it to something you understand, which is animals. Animals are different. They scare you, but you can also control them. So that's why they make it an animal, because it's all three of those things still.
It's funny to me that they would relate us to animals, or, you know, the way they treat their animals is better than the way they treat
I was going to say
us
that.
as humans, you know. So it's funny to me that they would even relate us to animals in that sense. I think that they do treat us as animals, labor-wise and intelligent-wise, meaning that they dumb us down to an animal level and they see us that, oh, okay, we're only good for labor as animals, but look at how white people treat their animals, you know?
That's
like better than
it all depends on what type of animal
Bob said the threat aspect is different.
Animals are only a threat physically, not mentally. So you can outsmart an animal. That's why you have to inflict also the mental abuse of that too. That's why it's different. Like you,
yes,
an animal is going to be different from torturing a person because of that mental part. That's why you have to do both with an animal. So you relate it to an animal, and then you apply other things that you can't apply to a regular animal, because they're only calling you an animal because they're threatened by you. So now you have to add other things that make it not just an animal.
Also with that, they treat you as an animal because, like Kamaal said earlier, you can control an animal. You know, no matter what it is. I mean, like you said, you know, you see how they treat their animals, not how white people treat their dogs and everything. But if that dog gets out of order or acts up, they're put in the corner. They're beaten. They're not fed. So for them to treat it to compare us to animals, they feel like they do the same thing. That they don't have to feed us. They don't have to, when we get out of order, we can't be punished.
Mhm.
Whereas, as human beings, we're seen as human beings, we're seen as equal to them. And that we'll never be seen as equal to them. We'll always be seen as animals, something that they will try to control.
All right, so I will go back to Amal admits to throwing the first punch in the fight. Can it still be considered self-defense if he threw the first punch? Does anybody remember that scene?
Yeah.
It can be. I mean, if you feel threatened and he's responding to, I mean, it won't work for a Black person, but if you feel threatened and you fear your life and you respond first, yes, you can throw the first punch, but it doesn't apply to him. But yes, you can.
Yeah.
The cops do it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, if someone's like nagging at you constantly, then it's kind of like his.
Please explain
the scenario in the book. I'm saying nagging wise is like bullying. If you're getting bullied constantly, you retaliating back is self-defense because they provoking someone to do something is basically self-defense.
And it's also abuse. That's bullying. That's emotional and verbal abuse. You're abusing the person, you retaliate. You're being abused.
So was he being abused? Let's go back to the scene. Can anybody remember the scene? Was he being abused?
When he was
I know I'm
on the playground when he beat that kid up. Yeah, the kid was constantly in his face saying that she dumped you, blah blah. That's attacking him. That's verbally attacking him. That's mentally assaulting him. That kid was coming at him without physically touching him. The kid was on him.
Yeah.
He deserved to be popped.
A big difference with like self-defense is like even in school, when a kid does something, they always say because they did it first. Like with little kids, they get in trouble. A lot of their reasons is because someone else did it first, or someone else did it, or they were doing it to me, so I did it back. But a lot of times that only applies to certain people, like she said.
So self-defense would have only worked for him because it didn't work in this case because he was defending himself. It backfired on him defending himself because he was a young Black man.
Mm-hmm.
So the same thing when cops feel threatened by us and they just shoot us first instead of asking questions. They felt threatened, so they retaliated the way they felt like they could defend themselves, whether we were unarmed, whether we didn't even provoke them, whether we, whatever. But yeah, so it's like,
it's hard.
And then you gotta
one at a time. Go ahead, finish.
No, I was just saying that's basically it. Like, the defensive parts, like, it's okay for you to pull me over, ask me for my license and registration. And then when I ask you why you pull me over, because I asked you why you pull me over, you want to shoot me because you felt threatened. And that's okay because you felt threatened. So that's, your way of defending yourself in the way of you feeling threatened. But for him, it wasn't okay because he was a Black man in a white park and that kid was privileged. And then he ended up in a coma in the midst of that.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's just a shame that because, I mean, it won't be self-defense because he was a Black kid, and this the gift of curse of being Black of being Black. Because you're Black, you can't be scared because you're a threat. If you're a threat, how can you be scared? So therefore, you're not in self-defense. You're actually retaliating to what's being done. But for being Black, it's not self-defense. You just retaliate. Now, if I was a white person, oh my God, this guy did this and that third. I had to defend myself. But because you're a young Black man in this society, and you're a threat, no matter what you're doing, it's never self-defense. You're actually almost antagonizing it yourself. You're actually initiating yourself because you're Black.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Lana was saying, you pulled me over. You have the gun. You have the leverage on me, and all I did was ask you a question,
and now you tight.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because again, you're a threat because one, you're Black. Two, you're intelligent. So the fact that you actually threaten their intelligence, threaten their authority by asking questions, causes them to feel like they're threatened. You know, they got the gun with 16 bullets, the bulletproof vest, the stun gun, and the backup, and you're sitting there in a car with your hands on the steering wheel, but yet they feel threatened.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, Pop. No, I want you to go to this.
Oh, okay.
So he's gonna read something, and I want you guys to think about it.
Amal says that people assume he was born full grown and had never cried for a teddy bear or laughed at Elmo on Sesame Street. He worries that people in the court cannot see him for who he really is and instead just see a stereotype. What is the difference between the way Amal is perceived in the courtroom and the real Amal?
Yeah, we kind of touched on that. He said, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
How do you think it feels for Amal to be seen this way? In what ways can you relate to Amal? And then, all right. Write about a time in your own life where you felt that people were not able to see you for who you really were.
That's just an activity to do on a later date, to journal about. I believe in journaling. But read those last two bullets again.
How do you think it feels for Amal to be seen this way? In what ways can you relate to Amal?
Yeah. Let's start with you, because Amal at this time is a little younger than you now. You're 19, but that wasn't that long ago for you.
Well, how would he feel?
Like how he would say he was seen. I feel like I like that quote because I've heard in on my studies and places I've gone, slave theater and things of that nature back in the days, that they see young Black men as being born like Zeus. Zeus was born as a full-grown man in Greek mythology. He wasn't seen, he never was a boy. He came out as a full-grown man with knowledge and appearance of manhood. But in this case with Amal, they saw him that way, but he was not. He was what does it say? He said it?
Stereotype.
No, in the beginning, read with it.
Amal, he was never a boy. He was a boy full grown and had never had a chance to cry or laugh to Sesame Street, basically.
Right. So they never saw him as a young boy or Sesame Street, or I believe cried or hugged Elmo.
Yeah.
Well,
wait, whether Kamaal was gonna let him elaborate, and then we'll
okay.
jump in.
I mean, well, the difference really just is like we've touched upon. It's just that what's foreign isn't. Well, society. I feel like society likes to make a lot of things normal, and when you're not normal, foreign is always questioned. I mean, that's literally everything. Humans like to question everything. So when something's foreign and you don't understand, it's gonna get treated differently. That's like prevalent in any kind of history, no matter where the humans came from. If there's a reason to question it, it's gonna make you feel like you have to question it and not try to understand it, especially in a situation like this, where it also makes you feel intimidated. So not only you have to question things, you're also intimidated by it. So you're gonna want to have to control it or like eliminate it, as he said before. So I feel like he doesn't really have to, in a situation like that, you're not viewed as a normal person anymore because you're fitting into now their idea of normal. Like, all right, so there's normal in psychology and learning in psychology. I've taken child development last semester. It's proven there's ages and there's scientific facts for reasons why people make mistakes, and all those reasons that are science don't apply anymore for, like, let's say Black people in like a prison. They know at a certain age, at a teenage age, you're going through puberty. Mentally, there's certain things in your mind that aren't developed yet, and you're more likely to not think about the long run of a decision. That's proven, that's facts. But in situations where Black people are put in situations where that's tested, where that fact is tested, it's no longer a fact. Another fact comes into play. It's the fact that you're Black. So it's no longer science, it's opinion then. I feel like they give They give facts and
no
facts,
longer science, it's
but
opinion. Mm.
when it's something doesn't fit into normal, you can't use facts anymore.
They
When it
get-
doesn't fit their normal, it's not a fact.
They don't use facts anymore. It becomes opinion
Yeah, when it's
Mm.
not normal. So
when
that's
it's
why
not
gonna be.
normal.
That's why you're gonna be viewed as normal, because normal is just easier to go with. It's just easier to assume you're that kind of child.
They never viewed them all as normal.
Yeah, because
Is that what I'm getting out of this? Is that what you guys are hearing?
Yeah,
that
he's not viewed as a
Yeah.
human being.
He was never viewed as normal.
Well, as a human.
For the
Or
reasons
is-
that he stated in the beginning, he's never seen as to cry, to watch Sesame Street, and those same reasons that he stated is why he was never viewed as normal.
Yeah.
But as we get more Black researchers and Black doctors to expand upon us as humans, and expand the definition of what normal is
Mhm.
as a human, I mean, it has to become more acceptable, maybe somewhere down the line in the future, as we, as Black women, there's things that, even when you go into the doctor's office and you weigh more than the average white woman because our bodies are composed differently, even that is seen as abnormal, as overweight, as, which is normal to us. But as they have more Black doctors, introduce this more into the medical field, it becomes more of a norm,
Even me asking my doctor questions, I'm not that I was one of her few Black patients, but I was considered abnormal because I asked a lot of questions. And I advocate.
Exactly.
I advocate for myself. Like, I feel that she was like, oh, no, maybe it's just in the beginning, but then she learned me, and she learned I'm a different kind of Black lady.
Right.
That I come in
Right,
and I ask the
or
questions.
educated. Like, I better have some
Educated,
answers for her.
Ask the questions. I have very good medical under the MTA, Metro North. So I'm gonna ask these questions. I'm gonna get it to the fullest. And then she
Like,
will
could you
really
test
now after she's been my doctor now for about 4 or 5 years, she expects when I come in now to ask the questions.
Good.
Ask about my blood pressure, ask about my eating lifestyle. And she was like, I wish as time is going on that more of her patients, especially of color,
Mm-hmm.
would express themselves the way that I do. Not just assume that since Big Mama's heavy, I'm supposed to be heavy. Since Big Mama got sugar, I'm supposed to have sugar.
Exactly.
Since so-and-so got high blood pressure, I'm supposed to have high blood pressure. No.
And now you've educated her, and maybe that can perpetuate along the line, and we'll see a better routine as the time goes along,
Yeah.
That's where I was I wanted to go with, because another reason why I think he was seen as a grown man or a grown boy is because a lot of us Black men, especially in my era growing up, we wasn't taught to be kids anymore. We wasn't taught to be boys. We were taught to be men already. Boys ain't supposed to cry. Boys ain't supposed to hurt. Boys ain't supposed to, show their emotions. So how can he show an emotion for Elmo or like a cartoon or like Sesame Street, where even in our own household, we're being taught not to show emotion, not supposed to cry, not supposed to be, because it's been taught from my father to his father to his father's father and so on, that we've been taught not to be emotional, and if we are, we're supposed to do it in the closet somewhere or hidden, and it's really
think
tough for
Yeah, I think that's.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a good point. Sorry, I'm stationary and I'm gonna have to drop off in a minute. But I think that's such a good point, because that's the case for men in general, but it's even more prevalent or stern in the Black household. That men are supposed to be, strong and not to show emotion. You the man of the house now, or you know, you following after your father, and so you can't be soft, you know, and it is just much more strong and prevalent, I believe, in the Black community than it is in everyday households. And I think for Black people in general, for men and women, we're always supposed to be super something, right? Super male, super female, super man, super woman.
Right.
And
Right.
it just makes it so tough just to be human.
Mhm.
Thank you for that, Aisha. I remember, and Ashanti left, but I can remember when Kamaal, we at school, and he's 5, 6 years old, and they calling him little man, or he's the man of the house, or he's the this and that, pushing manhood on my 6, 7, 8-year-old son. And Kamaal sit right here and tell you, I would correct him in a heartbeat and be like, he's not no man in anything. He's my son. He's 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. He's not being raised up to be your daughter's little boyfriend yet. He don't have no boyfriend. He don't have no girlfriend. He is a young child. Do not push. He's got more life ahead of him, praise God, as being an adult than he has of a child. Let him be a child. Don't call him little man. Don't put a little girlfriend on him. Don't say he's head of the household. What kind of pressure is that? That, you know, wait, his father wasn't around, or I'm not with my daughter's father, what have you. And then now you're going to put him, I never put the pressure on. Kamaal will tell you to be the man of the house, to be any of that. Just be Kamaal. Just be a boy. Just be a kid. Just go to school. Ride your bike, your skateboard, whatever it is, and do those things. But I found people in our community of color will put those kind of pressures on, being poppy, being the man of the house. So if we push that on them, and then they go out into society. So when does he be able to cry? When is he able to play with the Elmo? When does he stop when he hits the front door and go, okay, now I stop playing with Elmo and stuff, and now when I walk into the house, I am now the man of the house. And I know too many families, men and women, who put those kind of pressures on our young men and women. But in this case, since we're talking about Kamaal here, in the context of a young teenage boy, they put it's too much pressure. And I check people all the time. I know Yolette, and now Yolette has my young prince, and Yolanda has my nephew, our nephew over there, and things of that nature. And I'd be like, no, let them be boys. Let them, and I know y'all the kind that'll check them too, and what have you. And don't put those kind of pressures on them. And I believe we do that in our community, in our society. And I think that's just wrong.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. It starts with us in our homes, you know. We can't blame them for everything now.
Right,
No.
right.
We can't, but one thing we have to keep in mind for that particular scene in the book too, the people automatically perceive him. They don't even know if he did have Elmo at home, if he did cry at home. They didn't give him that privilege. They didn't give him that space. They just automatically took it away from him. So he could have cried, he could have bawled, who knows what he did at home, but they didn't give him that space. They didn't allow it. It wasn't available for him.
Mm-hmm.
They saw him as an adult and act accordingly, and they had their own perception. So to me, that was a major problem, and that's a generational thing on their side too. That's something that's taught in their household, how to see us, how to view us. The same way we bring down our generational baggage, they bring down theirs as well. So each generation, if they're not exposed or not intertwined, not interact with us, they bring the perception of their grandparents and looking at us in that same view, that same vision. That's,
Even if
so I think that was one of the problems. They didn't see him as a child, and they didn't know if he had those opportunities. They didn't know if he cried at home. They didn't care.
yeah.
Right. So and it's a part where Amal says his whole life will be like a mirror on page 31. What do you think he means? What does Amal wish people would see when they look at him? I want you to think what Amal would see when they look at him, as well as I would like to two-part that. What do you wish people see when they look at you? But first we'll start with, what does Amal wish people would see when they look at him?
I was gonna say he probably wish they would see what he sees, and that's just like a scared young man who made a mistake. Someone who, thought first before acted before he thought. You thinking, I'm just having a fight trying to protect my rep, not thinking you're gonna end up in a courtroom having to fight for your life. And people are gonna just judge you based on what they see in society and not exactly who you are. And if the second part of that is that, I used to do the same thing. I never experienced racism until I came to college upstate New York. And it was a Asian kid from Texas that was racist against me. And I was blown away. I couldn't even take you serious. To be honest, I couldn't. I was just like, what?
So you came from
All
Brooklyn.
right.
So you came from Brooklyn and came upstate to school at culinary school up in Hyde Park. It was an Asian Texan.
Mm-hmm.
And what
would
did he say? What happened? What
he would just say like certain like just racist things, or he would think that I'm always gonna be like and all this stuff, and he would go, okay, girl, and stuff like that all the time. Every time I walked in the room, and I was just like, my goodness, I said, I do not. And I used to have to check myself. I was like, do I talk like that? I said, I don't think I talk like that. Do I talk like that? Because I was like, I gotta be tripping, but yeah, so. And I mean, I guess it was just one of those things where I was just like, if you see me, however you see me, I'm going to be me regardless. Like, I know I'm loud. I can't, I'm loud by nature. That's just me. I love it. Whatever. If you can't take it, I'll try to quiet down. But other than that, that's just my character. That's just who I am. I love to laugh. I love to be, excited. And sometimes when I get angry, I'm still loud. So I'm just loud all around. But for you to just think that I'm this stereotypical, person that you perceive from TV, because that was how he acted, was as if I was someone you saw on a BET movie.
Oh, he acted as you was a character from one of the shows.
Yes. Oh. And I was just like, I don't think I'm that person that you think that I am. You can have my autograph though.
Asians typically see us as lower on the totem pole than them. So
that's not true. If you go to an Asian country, they treat us like royalty.
No, because they think you're a celebrity.
Yes,
the ones that are here,
but they still see you as lower on the totem pole.
Oh well, I don't know.
Like white people.
So Yolanda felt like a celebrity then.
Well,
yeah. Go ahead, Kamaal.
I feel like it was good symbolism using the mirror, because when you're talking about a mirror, you're only looking into a mirror to see what you already know. Like, you're not trying to find out anything deeper from a mirror. Like, unless you're like really trying to get in there, you look in the mirror and you see yourself, you see what you already know. You already know yourself.
So a reflection?
Yeah, a reflection. Reflection is already what's there. So when he says a mirror, it's like,
he says, my whole life will be like a mirror.
Yeah. It's already their perspective on what they know already. Every time they look at him, they already have an assumption of who he is. They already have their perspective, and that's just going to bounce back off without him having to talk, because he fits the description of what they already have in their head.
So even
when
though
he wants them to
go ahead,
when he doesn't want it to be a mirror, he wants it to be like, yeah, a mirror, but a mirror like a mirror that you open with stuff inside of it, because it's not just the mirror, it's more behind the mirror.
I think he means the mirror, like seeing him through his eyes. Yeah. So like as if they are him. So if they look in the mirror through his eyes, then they will see him and not what they perceive him to be.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so in this case, I appreciate that, because sometimes when you look at it in the mirror, depending on what mood I'm in, I won't see the reflection of like my fearfully, wonderfully made self. I'll see my flaws. Mm-hmm. And it seems like he wanted them not to see his flaws of the teenager, of the mistake. He wanted them to see a more of the young Black man, the artist, the scared boy, the scared young man who made Kamaal just said, a mistake. Mm-hmm. But it seems like our mistakes become imprisonment and punishment, while others' mistakes become life lessons and smack on the wrist. And he was just being a boy, or he was just.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, he was just being a young man. Go ahead, Yolanda.
Because as soon as you said that, it just reminded me, like, what if he did throw the first? Well, he did throw the first punch, but what if when he threw the first punch, they still whipped his behind and he ended up in the hospital? You know, instead of the other young man, how would that have taken place? You know, then it would have been, well, now that person, the white kid, was defending himself because Amal threw the first punch. You know what I mean? It wouldn't have been it's crazy.
Well,
would have been self-defense.
Go ahead, come on.
I feel like they make a mistake justification for what they already believe. Like once you make a mistake, it's like, oh, you made the mistake, so now you had to do it for that reason because you did it. When your reasons could be totally different, it's the fact that you made a mistake, it now justifies their idea already. Because it doesn't matter how you got to that destination, you still got there. So they're not really concerned about what you did to get there. It's that you got there, so it's gonna fill what they already had in mind. So a mistake becomes justification for your actions.
Yeah, their expectation of us.
Yeah, if it's exactly what they're expecting.
Expectation to wait for it to happen. They go, oh, I knew this would have happened. I expected it. So automatically, this is the path you have to take. We knew you were going down this path. We're just waiting for you to make that mistake. So you can go down that path. And that's what happened.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Wow. So I want to take us back into the courtroom again, because that was just, and there's so many times that we are depicted, we as in people of color are depicted in such a negative way in the courtroom. Amal vividly brings to life the emotions he experiences while in the courtroom. He says that he feels a stone in my throat and a brick in my chest, and says that rage is a thing with bones and blood and screams that turns into flames that you have to chew on. Why is Amal coping with such intense emotions? What can we learn from him about coping with his feelings?
Well, one thing I felt like in like the past, or just one thing I've noticed is like they tie everything to law. So I feel like the court is a really representation of how society is supposed to go. Because he mentioned how the jury, the judge, all things that are like the same as in life, you do certain things, you get judged for it. There's always people watching. When someone's talking, when the judge is talking, everyone has to be quiet. You're supposed to listen to this main person in charge talking. It's just teaching you how to act in society. You get judged for your mistakes. There's witnesses to what you did that make people make their own assumption. It's not really about what you did, it's what the people around you. There's the jury that judges you, all factors that are the same as society. So I feel like the court and society are kind of like same thing. They're just teaching you how to act in society. It's the same thing as a courtroom. You're supposed to dress presentable. You're supposed to carry yourself. That's how you, same thing in society. It's like it's the same thing.
Anyone else?
I just wanted to say one thing. Basically, I understand what you're saying. It's just too bad that depending on who makes the mistake, they all get different consequences.
Yeah.
So the rules, the laws, and everything is here. Depending on who makes that mistake is going to determine what consequences they get.
True.
There's definitely two sets of laws going on here.
Yeah.
We all know it. They know it. We know it. And until we put the right people in office, things are going to be the same. But as far as how we handle his emotion, I think it shows us is he expressed it in his mind, but within that space, he couldn't physically, verbally express it. And because of that, he felt strangled, he felt limited, he felt imprisoned because he wanted to speak. He wanted to, he had anger and rage, he wanted to express it, but he couldn't.
Okay.
And, I think we all at some point in time feel that way in various situations, whether it be at work, especially at work, we all feel that way at some point in time in different situations where we know if we express ourselves and step out of character, we are going to be labeled and the consequences might be severe.
Yeah, I'm the angry Black lady.
Yes, and that's such a good label. When a white woman do it, she get put down by the white man too, but yeah, and when a white man do it, woo 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 woo. You know what I mean? So the bottom line is that we all have felt that way at some point in time where we're not able to.
Paul just said when the white person does it took a lot of courage to do that. Like you're very African for doing that, but when we do it, it's like you're being aggressive and very assertive.
Yes, you know, and we're labeled that way all the time, consistently, and we're not able to express. And for him, he learned to internalize his emotion in that particular space, and even in the jail and everywhere else. And he do it through expression and writing, and he does poetry. So that's his only way of controlling and getting it out before it become a rage, I guess.
That's good.
Reason for therapy, the necessity for therapy, coping mechanisms.
Yeah, I feel like he can't relate it to anyone else, so he tries to relate it internally. Like he's relating how he's feeling to something else, so it's able for him to express it. Because he can't express it to someone else, so you relate it to yourself and then you express it.
Did anybody have a character in this that was getting on your nerves, like Tattoo?
Oh yeah,
the guard, the black guard.
Yeah.
Black.
Not necessarily getting on your nerves. That was just, I'm sorry, that was me, but
no, he was getting on my nerves.
But what about the teacher who came in? I think she was, and then remember she left. She got an opportunity to expand her horizons and stuff. Well, I forgot her name because I had read it. So he felt like she came. It felt like he took it as she came in as a stepping stone for them.
Yeah. And abandonment, really.
Yeah.
Because like you started a program, you know, we were doing well with it, and you brought people in, and we were like, yeah, okay, we're getting something done. And then poof, you're gone. You got an opportunity and all that. You didn't even put anything in place or anything else in place to be like, all right, well, here's my replacement. You know, we're going to continue with this program to lift y'all in here, you know, to help you out in the time that you're here. Nothing.
I didn't like the women in charge. The woman in charge too. What's her name again? The lady in charge of the overall place.
Oh,
the first introduction got me, where he was, because he pointed out the fact, how are you really going to help me? Because when she said, we're here to help you, he's like, you're not.
Yes. Oh, I didn't like her. I did not like her at all.
Yeah,
she didn't want to know him.
Just the intro, right?
Yes.
So what about so how'd y'all feel about? I mean, I knew some people who've been locked up. So that prison wall where everybody take that picture, stunt in the front, and they sit at home and everything, and then he was able to get in the program when she left in the markers and the paint to redo the mural. How did y'all like? I kind of felt him coming alive when he was able to do that, to express himself.
Yeah, because that's him. That's him as a person. That's who he is, and that's always, you know, that to him that was Evan. You know, it's just him being able to do what he do best.
And absolutely gave him and the group of other guys a purpose. You know, it gave them a purpose, and then. Who messed up the wall? The white guard tore it down. And, you know, same as in life. You know,
the white guard tore it down. That was, and then he had, what was his homeboy's name that was riding him that got beat all up?
Keon? Is it Keon?
I want to say Abdul or something.
Caden.
Okay, there you go.
You always need. I feel like you need somebody like that. Whether you're in prison or outside, you need that ride or die kind of person with you that's gonna hold you down, that's gonna be like egg you on and support you, even when you don't think. Because remember when he was like not gonna write, not gonna speak, and his homeboy was like, "Nah, man, you need to go ahead and do that. You know who you are." It's like whether it's your own self or he was that voice that told him.
You need to push.
Yeah, Kamaal just said sometimes you need to push.
When stuff making you
wasn't like that in the beginning though.
No, but it's funny how that works. Sometimes it's the
like that.
you expect turns into be that person that gives you that nudge, that push in your back.
Well, it's like the expression, even your hater can be your biggest fan. Like it's the same thing. It's just
they are your biggest fan.
Yes, they
haters usually are your biggest fan on the low.
It's just a different emotion behind it. It's just anger instead of happiness. But when you're angry, it's more controlling. Like that's why it feels like it eats at you when you're mad or something, because it takes a lot out of you more than just being happy. When you're happy, it feels like normal, relaxed. When you're angry, your adrenaline, you feel tired after because it was a lot compared to.
Yeah, it's energy. It's taking away energy from you. Anger is energy lost.
Pretty much.
Yeah, you're right. You're definitely right about that one. So Kamaal, read this. Anyone else have something to add? Because Kamaal is gonna read a quote. No pun intended. Her last name was Alexander, but she wrote a book about imprisonment. She was the sister that I believe shot her in Florida, that shot her pistol in the ceiling as an act of self-defense to ward off someone that was kind of trying to break into her house, and they jailed her and put her in prison for that. She didn't shoot anyone. She shot into the ceiling, but they imprisoned her, and she said it was self-defense, but they said that she was brandishing a deadly weapon, and she's out now and whatnot. But Kamaal is going to read a quote by her, and then we'll talk about it.
The fact that more than half of the young Black men in any large American city are currently under the control of the criminal justice system is not, as many argue, just a symptom of poverty or poor choices, but rather evidence of a new racial caste system at work. So do you, Michelle, Alexander?
So do you agree?
Do you agree or disagree with this sentiment? Why? Can I
Go
start? One of my books in school, I think it was called, or one of the chapters was called, the new caste system is prison. Like the prison is the new caste system. And it was basically going over the statistics and facts behind how they want they want you to be in poverty, so you end up in jail. Like it's just, again, they gave Black people the ability. They gave Black people the ability to do things, but now that you have the ability to do things, we're gonna control what you're gonna do with that. So it's like the same kind of control. It's just evolved. Like everything evolves and adapts. But that's what everything. That's how humans are. You have to keep evolving and adapting to the situation. So it's just
so what you're saying is every time we level up, they level up. Basically. So the minute that we get and allow quote unquote to get to a particular level, then they level up and change the game.
I mean, look at social media. That's what social media does. They control the image. Now that social media came into play, you have to display the image on that platform too. There's images and influence on everything. So when you have movies, you have the stereotypical Black dude in the movie or a criminal. When it was like an experiment in high school. When you think of a criminal, you picture like Black dude, hoodie on. He's gonna be, if someone looks threatening, when you think of someone threatening, you're gonna associate that. It's the same thing. Like social media just evolved what they want to display.
Yeah, I got in trouble in school in elementary when we talked about thieves and whatnot, because God bless your granddaddy. I told the people that the biggest thieves were white people because they stole. They came and they put their flag on something and said they discovered something. The biggest thieves that I know, I might know somebody that boost in the hood back in the days, and you get the polo and you get but the real thieves, the real bandits, are the white collar bandits. Mm-hmm. The one that's taking whole people's pensions, hedge funds, islands, property, families. Those are the real ones. But when you, like Kamaal said, when you hear gangster or when you hear criminal, they automatically want to put in your head that it's someone of color, be it,
that's going against the system that they want to.
Yes. Go ahead, Alicia. I see you lit up.
I think the difference between a caste system, like a real caste system, is that you don't get any opportunities. You're born into whatever caste you're born into, and you're not able to move up.
Are you referring to like India? India has a caste system?
Like Indian caste system. You're born into that caste system. You will never move from that caste system. You will die in that caste system. And so will your children and their children, because that's how it's set up. We're given opportunity. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I feel like that's what she meant by new, because it's the same thing. They just make you think you can grow out of it. Like with a caste system, as you just explained, you'll never get out of this. Your family will never get out of it. With America, they tell you can, that you have the opportunity to, but everything else is making it so that you can't. It's like, I think she meant
go outside and
she meant new in the way, as in it's not so obvious.
Okay.
Like, because when something's obvious, it makes you want to question and revolt. If you think you have the opportunity to change, it's gonna distract you from the fact that you can't really change. Like, if you dangling like some bait in front of an animal, they think they're gonna get the bait because you're dangling in front of them, so they want you to have it. But once you get close, it gets taken away. It's like the same concept.
Or you see some people actually achieving it, very few. So you're like, oh yeah, it can happen, but it's not set up that way. It's set up to make you think it can, because these few got through, so you can too.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like now they make it so that we do, like, there is a slight few, but they pick and choose who the few is in the way of how, I'm not saying that we can't evolve. I'm not saying we can't be successful and things like that. But I noticed too that, for instance, how in the world are you going to tell me, like, even during the pandemic, and I'm not saying that, my business is like so small that I couldn't get anything, but it was just like one of those things, like, you have billion-dollar companies still able to receive these particular grants that are for small businesses. And y'all not going to find out or do anything about it for years to come because of all the paperwork. So that's what it's also like, it's like, so I couldn't make, actually make enough to where, hypothetically speaking, like, make enough to where we can actually maintain and grow, but only to maintain. And you guys are able to stay on top even through all the mess. And you're like, billion and trillionaires. That doesn't make any sense. And then also, like, I remember, I actually was watching a movie the other day. It was an old school movie, but a young lady, she was white, but her husband was abusive. I mean, years and years and years of abuse. And she burned him in his bed. She got away with it with temporary insanity. Like, even recently, like these days, a young lady, Black young lady, was being abused, sexually abused by by a person. She kills him in self-defense. She's in jail right now. So it's just like the way that they set things up between two different races and two different types of people and things like that. It doesn't give you an opportunity to say, yeah, it doesn't give you too much motivation to say, sure, if I just, I can do this, or I can move from this all the time. It's like, you have to almost put in that extra, close the door, that extra, motivation for yourself too, to keep pushing forward to make certain things happen, because society won't allow you to think that for yourself. Mm-hmm. They'll continuously make you feel like, you're meant to be struggling. You're meant to be, down and out. Your ancestors and your fathers' were strugglers and worked 7-8 jobs and, did this and did that, or whatever the case may be. So that's what you're supposed to do too. And that's not necessarily the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's their truth.
So who is the they? We all keep saying they.
Well, the people that portray.
So is that 1%, 2% of the population?
Well,
the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers. Who's the they?
Well, I said this the other day, that history is history, like his story, not like the full story. It's only that side. It's his story.
Well, the thing about it, with the rules and regulation, is that it's law, and if we all were to start voting, we can make some changes, and so we need to get on board. A lot of us don't like to vote, but we need to vote from the basic level, from your local level, and to build up. The president doesn't do much. He can't do much, and people need to realize that. He's a 4-year guy who doesn't really do much. We need to start at the local level to make the change.
You got like the cricket people, Mitch McConnell, that's been in there 60 years, walking around like the Walking Dead, that's out there in Kentucky and has done nothing for his people. 60 years. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
But we need to all really wake up and realize, fine, if it doesn't work this again, we need to go back each year until we get the change, till we get the view that we want to see. And we need to look at the landscape. if the landscape is not working for us, we can actually change the landscape. And we need to start involving ourselves instead of just talking and pointing. We need to invest and interject ourselves in places where we think we don't belong, but we actually do belong. Because that's the only way change is going to occur. If we on the outside looking at the landscape from over the mountaintop, it ain't gonna happen. We have to interject itself in there, and it might take a while. It's not gonna happen 5 years from now, but if we continue to do it and it becomes the norm for invest in those spaces and get the faces and get the people, not just the face, because sometimes some people ain't working for us, but get the people who are actually doing the work that we want them to do, change will never occur. We have access to it.
Because when you said people, all your skin folk ain't your kinfolk.
No kidding.
You gotta be mindful of the people that you put in there.
Yeah.
You gonna say something? Come on, before I read this next quote.
Well, I feel like because with change is like uncomfortable. I mean, I feel like any kind of change is gonna have some uncomfortableness. That's like a fact. Like if you're growing or something, you're growing, it's gonna hurt, but you're just changing. So you have to get people comfortable enough to change first. Like you could tell everybody, I feel every Black person knows the how America is and it's racist, and we all know it, but you have to get people comfortable enough to go about changing it. Like if you don't feel comfortable
with what the thought of being able to change it,
look comfortable with the action behind changing it. Like you have
and also the benefit of making the change, because there have to be a reward at the end, but they also have to know there's not immediate gratification. You're not gonna press the button change and you get exactly what you want today. So they have to realize there is a better situation on the other side. There's something to aim for. It is something better there.
So I believe.
I think that's the most important thing about that. I'm sorry. I think
Go ahead.
about that is that we're in a generation. The generation now is a change now generation, and that's not the case. It's going to take time. It took us over 20 years to get out of slavery. We need to think that we're going to change racism in a couple of elections. We think we're going to change how they view us in a couple of votes. It's going to take time, and it has to be persistent and consistent. Persistent and consistent. Because if we do it for 4 years, or we do it for 5 years, and then we stop, then what they're gonna do, they're gonna wait us out. That's what they do, because they feel like we're gonna do it just for a season, not for a reason.
I feel like, but it also can be done now, because everything else. All right, so with let's take like gay marriage. Gay marriage is becoming, and stuff like that is becoming normalized now, when it was already being fought for before. But one of the reasons it's excelled is because social media. So I feel like with social media, it can advance the thing that's people use time. Like time, it takes time to do things, but there's also things that help speed up time. And like social media is one of the biggest influential things ever, probably the most influential thing to ever be made. So I feel like using that can also help, because everything else that all the changes, like you said, this is a change now time. Gay marriage every day is getting expanded more. People wanting to express themselves in a sexual way and choose who they want to be is changing every day. So I feel like with like racism in that, it can be done at the same speed, using the same things.
Well, I think there's different consequences to people who's not allowing the change. And yes, social media can be helpful, and that's where the younger generation come into play. They can play that role, but keep in mind, there's still not going to be immediate gratification. That doesn't mean that you stop. You always push forward, knowing that, change can occur. Some change will occur tomorrow. Some will occur the next day. It's a continuing process. So change is going to happen every single day, but the big change is going to be a progressive type of change, and everybody do their part. The people who are good at social media do their part. The people who are good in politics do their part, and we can get the change we want. And as long as everybody realize, the younger folks realize in 5 years when it's not exactly what it looked like to them, they stop, they keep going, then that's where change will really happen.
I think what it is also is that the people that are trying to actually implement the change are being, how do you say, they're lining themselves up with the wrong people. You know, so it's like they're lining themselves up, or they're getting in cahoots. The people that don't actually want the change, they want the publicity, they want to be seen, they want to be heard, but they don't want to actually put in those actions and the things that are necessary for real change. And then it's like, oh, well, you know, this is why I don't do anything with my people, because, you know, they're not about nothing or whatever. We can't ever come together and stuff like that. You're hanging, you know, just like she said, just because they're, you know, the same skin folk, they're not the same kinfolk, so to speak, you know. And I think that's where discernment comes in as to who is really trying to make a difference. Because I mean, you can sit there and say you want to change all day, but then if you don't put that into action, it's never going to happen. And for me personally, I get frustrated with, you know, I was born this way. I was born African-American or female. And y'all haven't accepted me since I came out my mama's womb, but you want me to accept somebody that want to change their whole entire life within 3 days and want to identify as a goose. And I'm just, I don't understand it. So, you know, it's a little bit on the, like, how do you fight against that? You know, sometimes, you know, how do you fight against you being who you've been your whole entire life against somebody who wants to change everything about themselves and be accepted?
Yeah.
Where do you even start? You know, and then that's how you get like, okay, well, what is the next step?
Kamaal can't even be accepted for being a young Black man that's human, but then we supposed to accept people for all the things that you just mentioned. And they can't even accept him for being a 16-year-old young Black boy. I'll say boy because of the man.
Because a 16 young Black boy is something that they can't control. A 16-year-old young Black boy wants to be more than just a Black boy. Wants to be more than that. But what Yolanda has shown that said is that people want to change from being a male to a female. That's it. So they want. They want to change from being seen as trisexual or bisexual to a he, she, whatever, or LBHIJK, whatever it is. And that's it. They don't want no more than that. But that this young man wanted to be more than just a 16-year-old boy who is seen, you know, as just a boy. He wanted to be more. And that's something that society can't control. They want to control the future of young Black men and women. And when they see that they want to do more than that, then they'll pacify them with certain things like, oh, well, you know, we don't want you to be all this, but you decide you want to change your gender, we're going to support that, and that'll be great. You decide that you want to worship a tree or whatever, we're going to support that, and that'll be great. But we don't want you to be smart enough to know or do things to make our race better than what the white people are.
And
yeah,
that's
it makes me you know, both of y'all know, and other people may know, I know Yolette knows too, I'm an avid reader, and y'all see all the books all around here. And I remember a speech that I read by Sojourner Truth. She went to the Seneca Falls to the White Women's Conference to be seen as in they were fighting for women's rights. And she had to say, ain't I a woman? I mean, damn. The white ladies is out here, they fighting for equal rights. They wanted to be equated to the men. She just wanted to be acknowledged as a woman. Then, and here we are still fighting for Kamaal or YUSEEF and the Central Park, other brothers and them, to be acknowledged as humans. You gotta fight to be like, ain't I a woman? I mean, what more do I need to do? What more did Kamaal need to say? To say, ain't I human? Ain't I a boy? Don't I got a mama, daddy? Somebody loves me to see me. To see me. What was the name of the documentary? I See You or See Me or something like that. Which is Exonerated 5 that was on Netflix. I know it had something to do with being seen, but basically it was like, see me for who I am. See me as human. See me as somebody's child, somebody's son, somebody's grandson, that I got a grandma, that I got a Mima, that I got a Umi somewhere that loves me. Ain't I?
When they see us.
Yeah, when they see us. Thank you. Thank you, Keisha. Thank you, Yolette. Ain't I? And then got the nerve to be mad when you like, damn it, can't you see me? And get mad at you for being emotional about it. But you think of all of that and you're like, wow, don't you see us? Can't you see me? Ain't I a woman? Ain't I a man? Don't I have feelings? Don't I bleed like you? I got children out here that I love. When they hit the streets, I care about them and want them to return. And that's how I feel during this whole book. Like, there's been times I've gone in the bathroom and want to punch the air my damn self. Like, I can't let them see me like this. I gotta go because I'm gonna be stereotyped. So now I gotta go in the bathroom. Now I gotta close the door. Now I gotta go in the office and I gotta punch the air because they are not gonna see that this is just a moment. They're gonna see that as who I am. There's a difference between moments versus who you are in situations. So I want to read this and one more quote before we close out. I usually try to keep it under 2 hours, 90 minutes. And this is another author named Brian Stevenson. He says, we have a system of justice that treats you much better if you're rich and guilty than if you're poor and innocent.
Well, I feel like that ties back into how jail is supposed to be society. If you have a good lawyer, if you have good reputation, it's going to help you in society. It's going to help you in court where you got a good lawyer, you got enough money to pay for a lawyer, it can get you out of situations. In life, if you have the money, you can get out of a lot of situations. So I feel like it's the same kind of concept. It's the same thing.
I also believe that, yeah, you're right. But when it comes to us, sometimes, yes, if we have the money, but if you have the support and that person who, I believe that way, like even in the hospitals, when you show up in the hospital, when you got people that's sick and they see you have somebody come and checking on you, I don't care what nobody says. The doctors and the nurses act different. When you show up, when it comes to courts and things of that nature, and they see you got somebody caring for you, I'm not to say that, the jury and things is going to happen, but that makes people think twice. When you're got a child in school and you show up, and not just parent-teacher conference, you show up and you're active, we got parents all on here. Y'all know what it is. Kamaal will tell you, when I show up, it's like, oh. And then when I come to the meeting, and Ashanti too, they were like, oh, we know whose child you are. Forget the last name, is even when I come, they know. And it's what I expect of them. Not so much, and you were in charter school because I knew everybody in there, and my homegirl was the principal. But when he went to school up here, up in Dutchess County, and I show up, they're like, oh, we see where he gets that from, or you're involved, you're active. So when we don't have the money, we make up and are showing up. We make up in that support. And when we got the money, of course, that's gravy too. You don't get me wrong. You get the good lawyer and the public defender that comes in there. We know how many times they get our children or our friends and family locked up because they don't even care because their caseload is this thick. So we don't have the money for, Crump and all these other, the people that you see out here now, or even like the lawyers that are involved with Reverend Sharpton in them, that you don't have the access to that. So your access as well as money affects you in this prison injustice system, criminal injustice system when it comes to being there. So I say sometimes when we don't have the funds, show up. Yolanda, I see your hand, but Kamaal, you have something?
I feel like it also teaches the fact that you can have Like you can have all these things and it's still not work your way. Like Amal had his family there and all that. They were all there, they were all supporting him, but it still wasn't enough to not only make him feel comfortable in the situation or to change anything. So I feel like court also teaches you the fact that you can have evidence, you can have all the things to think you can go right, but there's always going to be something or someone that's going to judge your decision regardless. It's going to be based on what they think. I feel like it teaches you that too. It's about what someone else is thinking, or what someone else thinks of your actions, not the reason behind you, not why you think you did it. It's just what someone else thinks.
Perception.
And we have Yolanda, and then we have Deron, and then Alicia.
Yeah, especially, I was gonna piggyback off of you saying shut up. Like when Leonard first started school, I purposely would tell Brian to go to the meetings. Purposely would tell him to go to the PTA. Purposely tell him, no, you go to the school. I need her to know that both parents are present. She has a full-time father, and that when she is going through something or she has something that's coming up, we're both going to be there to advocate for her, because she's in a little town with, no offense, mostly white people. And she's like probably maybe like the 10th chocolate baby in the whole school, you know? And when something happens, you know, they automatically assume that, you know, something must be, like Kamaal was mentioning earlier, something must be happening in the school. No, she just a little brat. She been the only child for 9 years. So, you know, sometimes she need a pop-out to get it together. But, you know, I just needed to make that point. Like, no, you go. I need them to see your face. Make sure they know you're present. Make sure they know that ain't nothing going on in this household. She just being a child that just decides she wants to do something she ain't supposed to do today, so to speak. That's not who she is, and that's not how we raised her to be. Because they look at us crazy too when we walk in together, you know, and then they're just like, oh. And then I'm like, yes, we both own our own business. Yes, we both have an education. Yes, we both went through college. Yes, we both have these things going on in our lives, you know, and we want her to have those things as well. So, you know.
And we both together, and that's not my baby mama, my baby daddy.
Yes.
Go ahead, Deron. And then Alicia.
Yeah, it's really it's almost like taboo to see a Black father show up for their kids at a parent-teacher conference. Like when Cheyenne was younger, and I was at every conference, every meeting, every concert she had, everything. I was there more than her mother was, and it was sad. And what made it even more sad was it was my own people, the own people of color. But like, oh, you're her father? You're here again? She knows who you are. You know, I'm like, and it's really sad that, you know, that we have to make that special effort to show up for our kids. Whereas if I was not a person of color, if I was a father that I ain't sure because I had to work that day, oh, well, you know, he's white, you know, he's taking care of his family, but I was doing the same thing. But, you know, when I showed up for her concerts or for her, she did her readings or parent teacher conferences.
Mm-hmm.
It was like taboo. I actually had another male teacher. I was sitting there in the parent teacher conference for second grade, and me and her mother was there. He spoke to her the whole time as if I wasn't even there. I'm like, yo, I'm a father. You could talk to me too. You know, and it's just sad that we have to do that, but I will continue to do that anyway, because not because it's something special that I need to do or something, or it's my superpower to be a present father. It's what I'm supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that, Deron. Alicia, are you on mute, darling? Unmute yourself. We want to hear what you got to say.
Okay, I think definitely parents should always show up, whether it be both parents or one parent. I think the best thing you can do for your child is advocating for them and showing them how to advocate for themselves, and being there in the room at the beginning. You can hear me?
Yes, I'm sorry.
And being there for them and showing them how to engage with your teacher on their behalf and making sure the teachers and whoever are in their space is accountable. Because when I went to school for my kids, and I went from the moment they set foot from pre-K to 12th grade, I was there every single time, and I popped up randomly, and I let the teacher know every year, this is a three-way process, you, me, and the child, and I expect you to also do your part, and letting your child know that it's not just about them learning. The teacher, that environment, that space has to do their part, and they need to be held accountable. And showing your child how to speak on their behalf, and they'll learn to advocate for themselves eventually. But being there in that space, whether it's both parents, one parent, aunt, uncle, whoever it is, going there and showing up all the time with the child there and letting them see how you interact and how you get things done, and let the school know it's the norm that somebody is going to be here all the time, checking on y'all, not checking on my child, but checking on y'all to make sure y'all do your job. And I think that's important.
Yeah. And even in my case, in the earlier days, you know, I'm married now, been with, I have my husband, Deron, that's on. But earlier with Kamaal and Ashanti and their fathers wasn't around, I tried my best to implement men structure in their lives, positive. They have male role models and people that stood up, that were on, pick them up from school if I couldn't, show up to their games or some kind of event, to let them know that even though it's no husband or their father per se, that we're not considered broken. And that he's not, or Ashanti's not reckless, or there's something going on in the home. I mean, I would really run into situations where they would be astonished that his father per se, I wasn't with him because of Kamaal, his mannerism, or just who he is. No, I raised him to, he wasn't dragged up, he was raised. Tried my best to make him a well-rounded individual where he can speak for himself. But yes, play chess, play basketball, go to museums, and play video games and like hip hop. I mean, he can speak for himself. He's an advocate for his own self. I've come to school many a times of Kamaal speaking up for his own self of what he felt like the teacher wasn't doing, or what have you, or especially Ashanti. She'll tell you in a heartbeat that I've come to school many a times for her to be vocal for themselves, to say that they're not hearing me. I'm not getting something from this class. For him to come to me and be like, no, they told me he had a comprehension problem early on. I was like, no, he's bored. He's bored. They would tell him to read the story, and Kamaal would make up stuff that's not even in the story. And I'm like, Pop, you know how to read? He was like, yeah, but it's boring. So I made up that the moon moved and the cow flew and all this other kind of stuff. I was like, no, please read it for the people the way the story goes. And then he would read it and they go, oh, he does comprehend. I'm like, yeah, you need to challenge him. Okay, we need to move you out. We need to get you some challenging classes on the weekend. You know, you learn your child and you become an advocate. You, like Alicia was saying, you become an advocate for them. And just because that's how they see him, it's how we, rounding things up, how we see them. And try our best to counter how society sees them. And from the home inside out, we work on those things. Kamaal, you
also have to know your kids.
Go ahead.
You have to know your kids too, and kind of be willing to accept some type of feedback as well, be like, okay, no, yeah, there's some things that these teachers just don't, or just assume about your kids.
Were you in the classroom before, Yola? Speak on that.
Yes. So you just have to be willing as well to know that, yeah, we're sitting with your children as well, and we're seeing this. So maybe there's something you're not seeing at home, because it's not like you are, quote unquote, teaching them at home. I'm actually in the class teaching them, and I'm seeing this. So just be willing to explore.
Yes, be open.
Opinion, yes, as well. But yeah, you definitely have to come advocate for your kids and teach them how to advocate for themselves, because these teachers will go around and just point, oh, you know, that's what special ed was made for. You know what I'm saying? This is what special ed was created for you. You know, enjoy the ride type thing. And just one last point, you asked who pissed us off in this book. It'd be that lawyer. That lawyer pissed me off.
Yeah, that's a sleeper one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a sleeper. Kamaal just said that was a sleeper. Yes. His lawyer you're talking about?
Yeah.
It was like his lawyer. It was like his lawyer knew how much this was messed up, but it was like he was basically saying
I was so
"There's
confused.
so much I can do. Like even he knows how overpowering the system is, but he's like, but I can't. But I have so much power in this situation, just showing how it's not really about the court. It's not about anything. It's about that person that's going to judge you at the end of the day.
For taking that money. Yeah, we got this. Don't worry. You know, I mean, be
I like
real with
Zenobia.
it.
Zenobia was trying. She sent him the letter. The girlfriend.
Oh, the girlfriend. Oh, yeah.
Who he wanted to be.
Who he wanted to be the girlfriend. Who?
Yeah. And she ain't have to do nothing. She had no ties to him. You know what I mean?
Who he wanted to be with when his friend left him.
Yeah.
So, when his friend left him to go with the girl, he was like, he wanted to be with her, but
he never spoke up.
Yeah, shoot your shot.
Yeah. Typical teenager, man. He was shy. See, that's what they didn't see about him, that he was shy.
Right. They saw him as this aggressive, assertive dude.
Yeah.
Not knowing that he was shy and even shoot his shot.
Yeah. When somebody's shy and they ain't gonna be shy forever. Someone can be but shy for so long.
Yeah. Yola used to be shy. Did you raise your hand?
No, I'm just saying people.
I'm about to say,
I used to be shy.
Who said that?
Alicia.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Did you say you used to be shy?
I feel like more now. Like I feel like as I got older,
he got more reserved because he was Mr. Party Turn Up. My Shanti was the shy one at first. The youngest over here, he was all. Then he got teenager on me and all grumpy and not showing his dimples. But Kamaal, would you like to have some closing comments before we close out the meeting? The book club meeting.
I feel like it was a great book. Great book. I like how it was the format of it. It like really drew you in the way it was formatted, like the way the words were placed as well, and the words he used and examples that he gives is like really realistic, or they give because they both wrote it. It was like I feel like it was a good book. It was really relatable and like eye-opening to some things, like how some things relate even in areas you don't realize. Like the prison line thing, like how it's relating to school. It's just like school, they lined you up, you can't step out of line, but the difference is you're not a child in this situation.
Set up.
Exactly.
Stand against the walls.
Oh yeah, setting you up already for that.
Yeah,
preparing you. Books, not bars. Anyone else like? Are you done? I'm sorry.
I just want to say it's a good book.
He wanted to say it was. Would anybody recommend this book to anyone?
Yeah.
I feel like it would be good for people around my age that don't want to.
Yeah, especially the younger crowd.
Yes.
Easy to read. Easy read.
Yeah, it's not something you have to like. Dang, this feel like I must read mad. Nah.
It's almost poetry.
Is that why you chose it, son?
I didn't know how it was going to be. I didn't know.
I asked him, "Is that why you chose it, son?"
Maybe.
I didn't know.
I put this down also as one of the books as a choices. I can't remember the other two right now because I dibble and dabble in poetry. I can't even say I dibble and dabble. I write poetry. So I like the freestyle of it, the visualization of it, the expression of it, and just the whole overall, like my son was saying, the flow of it was awesome. And like I said, I listened to it audible as well as I like the hard copy too. That's just for my notes, and even the audible, the person reading flowed with it too. I was a little thrown off in the beginning with the cussing because I was like, "Ooh, okay," but it made it real because let's be honest, everybody walks around speaking non-custom cuss word, especially when you know some people and just in the community and people you know, not everybody's walking around talking like Shakespeare. So I get it.
But they do it in their comfort. That's why.
Yeah, they do it in their comfort as well. I'm not that far on my walk yet, but some parts of my conversation need a little exclamation point in it.
That's what cursing is. It's just expression.
So it's an explanation point, and Kamaal just said it's an expression. As long as your mom is not hearing it when you're in there playing your video games. But yeah. Anyone else like to add before we close out? I see a few comments in your great book and discussion. I enjoyed it. You're welcome, Keisha. Thank you. Yo said you yes, and Kamaal as the dope co-host. Ooh. 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 This was a great wonderful discussion, Yolanda. Thank you. And I appreciate you guys telling me the name of the Netflix is When They See Us. His godmother stepped in and left. Yo, Rosetta, she said, good evening. Thank you for inviting me. She said she couldn't stay on, but hi, Kamaal. So she stepped in. And yeah, I wanted to also, I mean, I'm gonna put it on my YouTube channel and share it. I hope Kamaal shares it with his friends that reading is cool. Having discussions are cool. It's pretty dope because it's not just digging into the book. We went all around. We talked about society. We talked about your home life. We talked about the justice system. It's just that I'm just, like I said, I'm a cool nerd. Like, and then you talk about stereotype, what nerd is supposed to look like. And the way I watch Jeopardy and all the books that I read in the museums and places that I like to go, I get stereotyped too sometimes because I go in places and I'm the only brown bunny there. And they look at me like what you doing here? Even some of the culinary places or restaurants like Yolanda and I, things and food that we like to eat and frequent, that other people in our peers might not like, but we know we like it. So we can go together as sisters and we go places and we the only brown bunnies in there sometimes too. And they look at us like, you know what's on this menu? Do you know what's in that? Do you know the ingredients? Do you know this and that? And I'm like, I just experienced that in Vegas. Eating oysters, and the guy was like, there was umi in there and caviar and everything else. And I was like, I know exactly what all those things are. Sir, I'm not wasting my money when I order. I actually do like this. Thank you very much. Please send it out. Chop chop with a glass of Chardonnay. I appreciate that. So yes, he's laughing because I brought him in Ashanti. I used to train them up to bring them to restaurants with forks and knives and spoons, real forks and knives and spoons. So as they get older and they go out to places, it won't be new to them. At 5 years old, they're going to fine dining. 8 years old, they're going to fine dining. They know how to order. They know how to address themselves when they're out in public and things of that nature. So they don't meet the stereotype of what they think they, At the same time, we can go to Waffle House and chill out and get down with everybody with some cheese grits and some sausage. But you just I think it's balance.
Yeah, you gotta be versatile.
Versatile and balance. So yes, I'm deeply appreciate you guys coming out this evening, and for my co-host, that I didn't have to twist his arm too hard. That he came out and supported his mom in the last meeting of the year for the Soul Book Club. Hopefully he'll be back and bring some of his friends, and they'll see that we'll be in person soon after the winter. And you guys can come up and come over and we'll just have a really good time. We'll pick another book during the summertime that deals about food and stuff like I did this year. And I cooked and I brought food outside and we were in the park and everything. And we had a really good time. I'm looking forward to that. And it's not only just about books. Please post in the group if you have a blog that you like, a video or a movie, a podcast, or anything of that such nature that you want to bring to the group that we can discuss.
What's the name of the group? What?
The Soul Book Club. I'll send you the link again because I know I sent it to you a while ago.
But just put it in the chat and I can.
I'm gonna log out soon. I'm gonna text it to you.
Oh, okay, then yeah.
No problem. So I thank you again. And Kamaal, can you just close us out? You could just, you don't gotta pray, but just if you don't want to, just let everybody know again, thank you for coming out. Things of that nature.
Well, I guess I'll pray.
Oh.
If I don't,
Oh, there you go. So he's gonna pray us out.
Heavenly Father, thank you for giving everyone the ability to be gathered here and to use education as a tool and to be able to use that tool willingly, because not everyone likes to do that, because as we just went over, it's not made to feel normal. So I thank you for giving everyone the ability to be here and have knowledge and just be safe. And I hope everyone that attended and didn't attend is okay and that they're looked upon and that they're safe in life. And I thank you for giving us another day and another ability to express knowledge. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you. I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. So I hope to see your faces again. Feel free to chime in the group. Yolette, I'm going to send you the text, and I'll see you guys soon, God willing.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Holidays. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas, all that good stuff.
Bye-bye.